This episode of the Dorking Out Show podcast is brought to you by Oceanic Airlines, taking you places you've never imagined.
And the letter A, because you can't spell autoplay without A. Hey, websites that autoplay ads, you can go to hell. You are worse than Hitler.
Except for our podcast autoplayer. It's great.
Houston, flight is go.
Mila, let's go. SPM. Safety contact.
From Assignment X, Amalgamated Storytelling, and thesoniashow.com, it's Dorking Out with Sonia Mansfield and Christopher Allen Smith.
Welcome to Dorking Out, episode 8, a podcast for people who like to dork out about stories and the stories and pop culture that we love. That means movies and TV, books and podcasts, and pretty much everything else that we like to talk about. With me today is my co-host, professional writer and author of The Sonia Show, Sonia Mansfield.
Hey there.
Hello.
With me today is my co-host, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker and nerd author, Christopher Allen Smith.
Actually, speaking of nerd author, I am going to have an announcement in the next couple weeks for our Dorking Out listeners that I am going to need your help with a certain unnamed secret book project. So keep watching this space for that. But anyway,
That's exciting.
Now this week, it'll be much less exciting when I reveal it. Don't you worry. In this week's episode, we unveil our new metric for measuring an actor's charisma, the FPJs. That's Freddie Prinze Jr. Why Freddie Prinze Jr.? What did he do to deserve this? We will explain in our first segment with Peter Brown, the associate editor of Assignment X.
We also review the new R-rated animated comedy Sausage Party and talk about the state of outrageous offensive comedy in our current outrage culture. And then we share a few recommendations of things that we're watching or reading or listening to that we think you'll like too.
All of that, plus our favorite headlines of the week. So let's get this podcast started. Topic 1. We are here today. We have come here today at Dorking Out to unveil our latest and perhaps our greatest Dorking Out invention. That is the FPJ scale, the Freddie Prinze Jr. scale of actor charisma. What the hell is that, you ask? Watch your tone. It is the method that we have devised after careful moments and moments of thinking. Usually when we're in line at the
pure seconds of imagination.
Pure seconds of imagination.
Put into this.
A few minutes of serious thought.
That's right. Perhaps we're overestimating. Anyway, we've thought this through and figured out this stems from a discussion that we had a couple episodes ago on one of our special bulletins where we were trying to figure out how to rank and why we like some actors, don't like other actors, what it is about actors that makes some of them just pop off and some of them just, who cares who this person is, or even repel us. And what we figured out after long consideration is that Freddie Prinze Jr., heartthrob of the late 1990s, he was in She's All That, I Know What You Did Last Summer, he was in the Scooby-Doo movies, married to Sarah Michelle Gellar, I believe.
That is correct.
Still married, Sarah.
That's right, still married, so that's good. Is the perfect metric by which to measure actor charisma. Because he's good looking, he can deliver a line, but there's just nothing there. There's nearly no charisma. So
He's like a blank slate.
he's like perfectly blank slate.
He doesn't repel you.
Doesn't repel
But
you.
he doesn't attract you either. He's
attract
just kind of, he's there.
Exactly.
He's a placeholder.
Now, you might say in the era of Jai Courtney and Charlie Hunnam, why Freddie Prinze Jr.? What is it about Freddie Prinze Jr.? I'm picking on Freddie Prinze Jr.? No, I'm not picking on Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm going to be picking on Rob Schneider here in a second, but not Freddie Prinze Jr. because we've seen a lot of actors have this moment where they're kind of slowly bubbling up. They're the kind of teen heartthrob of the moment. They get to act in the lead acting for like a year or two, a lot of lead roles for like a year or two. Then for some reason they don't take off. They kind of fade away. And we know now that Freddie Prinze Jr. has essentially faded away to nothing. He has left no cultural mark on acting, on the profession of acting, on how actors do their job on the big screen or on television. So he's the perfect metric unit. Now, when you think about Freddie Prinze Jr., like, he has such little charisma. How many Freddie Prinze Jr.'s would it take to make up a Robert Downey Jr. or a Tom Hanks or an Eddie Murphy? It would take you, when you think about the charisma that Denzel Washington has and then the charisma that Freddie Prinze Jr. has, it's just the difference is obvious. Sleeping. Denzel Washington, I'm sure, has more charisma sleeping at a dead sleep than Freddie Prinze Jr. does when he's acting his guts out. So...
But we're not going to make fun of Freddie Prinze Jr.
No, we're not! No, we're not, because actually, if you go back, Freddie
Or
Prinze
berate
Jr.
him in any way by comparing him to other superior actors.
Well, no, that's the thing.
We won't do that. We won't do it.
We're comparing, like the Kelvin scale of temperature. Our rankings go from Freddie Prinze Jr.'s one Freddie Prinze Jr.
One FPJ.
One FPJ up to 1,000, and if you're getting in like above 950, above 900, but definitely above 950, you are in the realm of Robert Downey Jr., Frank Sinatra, Tom Hanks, just the greatest actors of all time live up there.
Now,
and then hold on. Then when you go,
Sinatra is one of the best actors of all time.
What was that?
You just put Frank Sinatra up as one of
As
the
one
best
of the most charismatic.
Okay.
actors.
Okay.
All right.
That's the thing.
I'm clarifying.
And charisma does. We'll talk about it. Charisma does kind of play into talent for acting. You can kind of have more or less charisma depending on what you do and how you use your persona as an actor. But then, like the Kelvin temperature scale, you go all the way down to negative 1,000. Those are actors that not only do they not attract you with their charisma, they actively push you away and repel you and disgust you and make you detest them, and they're just awful. Now, from my point of view, in the wild, in actual, theoretically, you could have an actor that is a perfect negative 1,000. The lowest known FPJ rating that we have observed in the wild of Hollywood comes in at negative 999.5, and that is one Rob Schneider. Once of Saturday Night Live, once inexplicably of a comedy career on the big screen, Deuce Bigalow, Hot Chick, The Animal. Not that I had to suffer through all of those as a film critic, but what say you guys about the FPJ scale? How do we rate actors? What makes them go up and down and back and forth?
Not that you have a personal vendetta against Rob Schneider.
No, I do. I do.
I was being sarcastic.
It is well documented. He is by far my least favorite, which is why he comes in all the way down at the bottom, which you can go to the Dorking Out podcast blog. You can go to Jet Jurgens, or you can go to our Facebook page to get your very own look at the FPJ scale with Rob Schneider down there at the bottom. Sonia Mansfield, you have thoughts?
I can't think of anyone worse than Rob Schneider, and that's really what I was trying to do. But I got nothing. I think he is the worst. No, I think so. When we're talking about the scale, the actor charisma scale, the FPJs, we're not talking about looks. I just want to make that clear to people. We're not talking about like they're the most handsome. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Like, we're talking about like a combination of things, like people who have it,
Right.
you know, who maybe they pick the right roles that really emphasize their it. Like, recently, I remember the first time I saw Thor, the movie Thor, I was like, that dude has it.
Yeah.
Like, Chris Hemsworth has it. You know, Robert Downey Jr. has it. George Clooney has it.
Definitely.
So and if we want to, at some point, we will also talk about women. And so, and I want to make it clear when we're talking about actresses, we're not talking about their looks. We're talking about their talent, their it.
Steven Seagal doesn't really have it.
Yes.
He really doesn't. That's one of those people where I'm like, how is that dude a movie star? Like Gerard Depardieu
Does not have
right.
it.
does not have it.
No. I disagree. He has no. Actually, you know what? Gerard Depardieu gives us a perfect segue into talking about the different levels. So at the Freddie Prinze, right above Freddie Prinze Jr., we have background players. These are the people that might have gotten shot on Law and Order or hacked to death on Game of Thrones. Then above that, you have in the 400s, you have that one guy. That guy, I don't know his name, but I like that guy. Then above that, you have character actors. Character actors are like Steve Buscemi, Michael K. Wilson on The Wire, who played Omar, who's awesome. You got the Michael Shannons of the world. Then above that, you have the top actors. These are the top actors playing today. There's your Matt Damons, your Chris Pratts. I was going to say your Will Smiths, but Will Smith might be on the top level, the legends between 800 and 1,000, where not only are they fantastic, not only do they have extreme charisma, but they can be just as good and play at the top of the game in comedy, and then turn right around and be just as good and play at the top of the game in drama, which very few actors can do. Like, that's why I think it's one of the reasons I think people love Tom Hanks so much, because he can do anything. He's been in some of the funniest movies of all time and some of the best dramas of all time, and he kills it in both.
Yes.
So,
Indeed.
That's right. So yeah, I was gonna say Gerard Depardieu. He's like in the character actor. He's got some charisma. He's got something there, but he's not. You can't rest a movie on him.
I guess I wouldn't put him in the six, but character actors, you're putting them in the 600s, and that just seems high for Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah. So maybe he's like a 500.
Not that I want to turn this whole conversation into Gerard Depardieu, but you know what I mean.
That's right. But this is a perfect use. It's like, no, he's not in the 600s, but he's better than Kevin Connolly. He's better than the third guy on.
I guess he's better than the third guy on Entourage.
So it's like, all right, let's help to figure it out.
Why is there so many Entourage guys in your scale?
Well, because they're just so. What I thought
Those
about
are one of my questions as to why are there all these Entourage actors?
Because they're just kind of there. It's like, oh yeah, the guy that plays Turtle. He's that guy. He's funny in that one role. I've never given him a second thought in most of that show, and also most anything else I've seen him in. So he's a perfect, that guy.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think they're too high.
Maybe. Well, that's like Kevin Conroy is the perfect background guy. You need him there to deliver lines and be in scenes. But have you ever thought about him? Have you ever had a daydream about Kevin Conroy? No, he's there, and that's with the background players and like the 100 to 200 to 300. It's like that's part of the problem is we don't know any of those actors. They're just nobodies, kind of.
Yeah, well, I would kind of argue that Kevin Dillon is kind of more of a background player than that one guy. So
okay, maybe. Yeah.
I would say maybe that one guy is more of a J.K. Simmons or
What?
Stanley Tucci, those kinds of guys, because you recognize them, but you kind of maybe don't necessarily know their exact names. Sometimes you're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that guy, I've seen him in a whole bunch of stuff, but he never really is a lead or anything. He's just kind of a side player.
Yeah. See, I think I put it. It's funny. Stanley Tucci and J.K. Simmons, I think, are perfect character actors. I actually put them as examples in the character.
Yeah, I know.
actor
That's
section.
why I
Oh,
was using
okay.
that.
All right. I thought you were just
Because I think maybe they're more in that one guy character, that one guy kind of.
Oh, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely character actors. I think they're the type of people, like, I know who they are, and I know when I see their name in the credits that, hey, at least, Stanley Tucci's in this, so something's going to be good.
Exactly. Like Stanley
That's
Tucci.
how I felt about Philip Seymour Hoffman too.
Yes.
And then he like won an Oscar and he kind of became a top actor, but I used to think like he was, kind of a character actor that when you saw his name in the credits, I was like, oh, sweet.
Right. Well, I mean, I see that. I see that point, but I do kind of like maybe consider them more kind of. I mean, you recognize them, but you're not necessarily drawn to them in terms of, oh, this is going to be, in my opinion, that oh, okay, I want to go see this movie because they're in it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this then, because I was realizing this as I was putting the scale together. You have people like Adam Sandler, who now I would argue has a pretty negative FPJ scale. Like if you see his name on a movie, it's like, let's get away, let's stay away. And actually, let's talk about the negative levels.
You know what? Adam Sandler's a really good one to talk about, and it's really interesting because he made some movies that were so funny.
Yeah.
Like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore and The Wedding Singer. These are really funny movies. And now when you see him in things like Pixels or like Grown Ups 2 or something, like, it's like he's phoning it in. It's like he's not even trying.
Yeah.
So then the charisma goes down. You're like, I don't like him anymore.
It's off-putting, which is sad because not only did he make some really fantastic comedies in the 90s, he made Punch Drunk Love, which I thought was great. There was a moment when I was thinking this guy could do a Tom Hanks where he starts going into drama and then tears it up like, he tore it up in comedy.
Yeah, but instead he's like, nah, I'm going to make things like Little Nicky.
Yeah, then he goes into Little Nicky, and then he goes into Rain on Me or Rain Over Me or whatever, which was all right. Then he did I think the last good thing I liked was Funny People.
And The Wedding Singer's a good one. He did that.
Yeah.
That's true, but The Wedding Singer, I think, is almost 20 years old.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that
There's
he
some
did
good
some
ones
stuff
in there.
in the past.
50 First Dates was all right, too. It wasn't that bad.
I did not see that. It looked...
But most of his
that
stuff
bad.
now is like Pixels and Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2.
Blended.
Well, yeah. Have you guys watched his Netflix stuff?
Nope.
No.
There was not the Hateful Eight, of course, but the Something Six.
It was like the
Ridiculous Six.
Six.
I watched the first 10 minutes of that, and
there's 10 minutes of your life you won't get back.
No,
Rob Schneider's in that too, huh?
Probably. So
That's the only way he gets work.
It is exactly the only way he gets work.
Now, one of the things you have in the negative is Nicolas Cage, and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I think it is kind of dropped into the negative because, he's gone from that character, that actor that used to kind of do some of those blockbuster action titles, and they were good, and he would actually put in the effort. And then he started, and then every once in a while he'd do crazy Nicolas Cage, where he'd just have like just off the crazy role, and he would just like, and he'd be like, well, that was weird. Why, what was he smoking that week or whatever?
Yeah.
And like now, And today he just does that. That's all he is. He's just crazy Nicolas Cage all the time in every film.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? He has kind of dropped into the kind of, repulsive actor category,
which is kind of sad. And we've seen a lot of I think a lot of actors take this track where, the rumors are that Nicolas Cage has had some financial troubles, some troubles with the IRS. And what a lot of actors do at that stage is they just start saying yes to everything. Like one of the, and then they go from, oh, I haven't seen that guy in a while. And then you go to the video store, you go to like subsection of Netflix, and you realize, oh my God, this guy's been making 2 movies a year for the last 10 years, and I haven't heard of one of them.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? I talk a lot about this in my DVD columns, because I do that in my DVD Blu-ray columns, and that there are a lot of actors who used to be A-list actors who are now regulated to doing straight to video.
Yeah. And
Nicolas Cage has become kind of one of them. And I don't know if it's just because they become too old, or they have, a social media disaster, or if they just, pissed off the wrong person, or what has happened. But you've seen a lot of big name actors have now kind of been locked into this box of having to do these generic action titles on straight to video. Bruce Willis has actually become one of those people, which is actually very interesting. Bruce Willis is cranking out a ton of movies, but they're all straight to video.
Oh.
You see him in like almost like every month he has some sort of movie coming out, and it's all just a generic action flick where he plays like either the bad guy, or he plays like the aging cop, or whatever it might be. And it's very interesting because John Travolta is now kind of becoming that guy too.
Oh,
so
no.
It's very interesting. Yeah. And I think maybe just because of his problems in life or whatever, some of the things that he's been dealing with, I think.
So where do you put John Travolta on this scale?
Well, see, that's a good question. I guess how much can you move on the scale?
So I was also going to ask who can you think of that started like maybe they were super low on the scale where you were like, ew, not him.
I got a number for you. In fact, one of the mistakes that I made, I don't know how I made this mistake, I feel really bad about it, is I put Bryan Cranston in the 800s because I had completely forgotten his work as Hal on Malcolm in the Middle. I was only thinking of Walter White. And I was thinking, oh, Walter White, and he was funny in a couple of episodes of Seinfeld. He's definitely a top actor now, but not really one of the greats. And then I remember after I put this out, I read, oh my God, Hal from Malcolm in the Middle, one of the greatest television dads of all time. So anyway, Bryan Cranston.
So you're saying he goes higher?
One, I'm saying if you were to ask, where would you put Bryan Cranston 10 years ago? I'd say he's in the 400s. He's that one guy. He's the dad on Malcolm in the Middle. He was on a couple episodes of Seinfeld. Nothing special. Bryan Cranston. Then he comes out as Walter White and just pegs the needle at the top. And Malcolm in the Middle is a fantastic, underrated Leave It to Beaver of the 1990s and 2000s. It's a great effing show, and he is really funny in it. Just lets it rip like crazy. And then, so I would say a Bryan Cranston type can go from down below and just shoot up with the right role that reveals kind of what they can do. Because part of the problem is, there's a million ways that the world is unfair to actors. And one of the ways is they're at the mercy of the director, they're at the mercy of the editor, they're at the mercy of the writers. Actors are thought to have had a lot of power in Hollywood, and they do, but they're at the mercy of literally everyone else on that set to come off well. So I think a lot of actors just don't get their shot.
So back to John Travolta, that one's kind of tricky because he's making a bunch of crap movies that maybe go straight to video. straight to DVD. But he's still a charismatic guy.
Yeah.
Like, you still look at him when he's on screen, like you're still drawn to him.
Yeah, like can he pull it out anymore? Like if you give him the right role. And actually, you know what? That's interesting that you should say
And
John
Bruce
Travolta.
Willis is kind of the same.
Right.
Well, two things. One, John Travolta. If you were to ask John Travolta in 1989 what's his score, it would be in the 200s, 400s. He was drifting down, not really that interesting. 15 years after Grease, he had his big moment, and then where the hell's he going? And then Quentin Tarantino comes along,
Right.
puts him in Pulp Fiction, and pow, blows, he becomes one of the biggest actors for the last 20 years. And then what was the other name that you asked?
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Yes.
Right.
He was really funny, really engaging in Moonlighting when he came out. In the first Die Hard, fantastic. To me, he's become less and less interesting, less and less charismatic, until the last thing I think I saw him was the last Die Hard movie, which was one of the worst movie-going experiences of my life.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
And he just gives nothing. He's like this black hole on the screen that gives he's kind of Freddie. Maybe Bruce Willis is down in the 10s or the 20s because he's just. It's like
you think he's close to Freddie Prinze Jr. level.
I do because he's just nothing comes off of him. There's nothing engaging about him. There's nothing interesting about him. There's nothing funny about him. There's nothing threatening about him. He's just,
He's just a name now, almost. He's just a name now.
Exactly. He's one.
He's not even really just kind of. Every film he's kind of the same person. He's just playing himself, and so that doesn't generate anything. It doesn't generate any charisma or any excitement. It's just he just is there, and he's a name brand. You recognize him
pretty much. Yeah. So. And part of this discussion took off on modern actors, and Hollywood does this. And Sonia, would you like to relate what got you thinking along these lines when we were discussing?
We were watching movie trailers.
That's
we were talking about movie trailers, and I watched the trailer for King Arthur with Charlie Hunnam. Is that how you pronounce it?
Something.
And I just am tired of Hollywood trying to make that dude happen. He is not going to happen. He is nothing. He is like below Freddie Prinze Jr. to me. He is like, he's like a Freddie Prinze Jr. He's not even a Freddie Prinze Jr. because, like, at least, that guy, well, maybe he is a Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
Like, he's just nothing to me. Like, he's like a stand-in for the real actor. While they set up the lighting. Like, he's just not a movie star to me. He just isn't. And I'm sorry. Like, I saw Pacific Rim. I'm
with you.
He was just like so nothing to me in that movie. And I watched some of Sons of Anarchy. I couldn't get into it. Maybe some of it was because of him. I don't know. But
I think so.
I just think they need to stop making him happen. He's not going to happen.
The same with Jay Courtney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy. Like he is. They seem like they're pushing him down our throats. What
was Jay Courtney's claim to fame?
He was in Terminator Salvation, right? That was the one he was first.
No, it's funny because someone else on our list, Sam Worthington, was in Terminator Salvation.
Oh, was that him? Okay.
Jay Courtney was in Terminator Genesis.
Oh, that's why. Okay, that's why.
So Sam Worthington was also an Avatar, right?
Which is interesting.
Because that's another one where I'm like, he's nothing to me.
He's nothing, but he's in the biggest movie of all time.
I wouldn't know him if I walked by him on the street. Like, I would just walk right on by, and he'd be like, "Don't you want my autograph?" And I would punch him in the face.
No, you wouldn't. See, that's the thing. You wouldn't punch him in the face. You would be like, "Why would I want your autograph? Who are you again?"
Who are you?
He doesn't even generate.
I would just keep on walking like he was a ghost.
That's right. He doesn't even generate the heat to inspire the punch. So another one that we were talking about is Joel, and I wonder if we're sensing a pattern here. So there's Charlie Hunnam, Hunnam.
Yeah.
Then there's Joel Kinnaman,
Yes.
Kinnanam.
RoboCop remake.
RoboCop remake. He was in The Killing. He
Killing,
was. This is part of me. Well, okay. He was
If
also
I
in
can't
Suicide
pronounce
Squad.
your name, you are
That's
one
right.
Freddie Prinze Jr. You are one FPJ.
Yeah, that's right. He was in Suicide Squad and he played Rick Flag, which was the role that Tom Hardy was supposed to play. Tom Hardy was attached to Suicide Squad. Tom Hardy was cast in Suicide Squad. What
And then
world?
did Tom Hardy get a different offer?
Oh
He
yeah,
was
well,
like, "I'm outta here."
there's a lot of rumors going around. Supposedly, the Revenant ran over. Supposedly, he read the script and said, "Screw this, I'm not doing it."
Smart guy.
Supposedly, there's a lot of things. But can you imagine what kind of casting mechanism has to go on where
Right.
you pull out Tom Hardy and you plug in Joel Kinnaman?
Right.
That's
That's
Nothing.
not even a substitute.
yes.
And
So-
Tom Hardy's
That's
probably
like pouring
what?
salt in your coffee instead of sugar.
And I would say Tom Hardy's probably in the low 700s, right?
Let's see. Let's take a look.
I would definitely say he's
Yeah.
one of the top actors today.
Yeah, low seven. Yeah, no, yeah. I would say he's in the 700s or 800s. He's in
Yeah.
there. Have we seen him in any comedies?
I can't
I don't
think of
think so.
anything.
Yeah. See, I think that's the thing is to get in a top actor, you have to be performing at the top of your game to get up there where you're one of the best. But in order to blow through the roof and just live with the gods, I think you have to do both. I think, you have to have, like I would say Eddie Murphy could do both, although he almost never does. Because I got some blowback when I posted this online that, oh my God, Eddie Murphy's at 945. Why the hell is he so high?
Well, I was going to argue that as well.
Yeah, well, I think it's because he was the funniest thing in Hollywood for 10 years. Really funny. And even now, when he wants to switch it on, he's the funniest guy around. But
He's
Yeah,
really,
but you
he's
can't
really
shake things.
charismatic, though.
what was that?
He's got good charisma.
Exactly. He's got really good charisma, and there's a preview that coming out that looks like he's going to be. I got to find it. Talk amongst yourselves while you talk about it. He looks great, and he's in a drama. And
He
I
just
gotta
needs
find
to
it.
stop making things like Norbit.
I was going to say you can't shake things like Norbit, though.
I
And you
think
can't shake like the Nutty Professor 2 and Dr. Doolittle 2 and all these kind of really bad movies he was in.
I think you can.
Bowfinger.
No, Bowfinger's good. Bowfinger's good.
I like Bowfinger.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He has all those, but then he has Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places, Coming to America, 48 Hours. This guy
Sure.
can do it.
But those were all in the 80s.
That's
Those
true.
are like 30 years ago.
First of all, how dare you? Secondly, yeah, I know. Third, when you have charisma that hot, you can always. He's like a John Travolta. He might have faded. He might have done some bad movies. He might have stumbled. But I'm telling you, you give Eddie Murphy the right role, and I think the movie I was thinking of is Mr. Church. You give him the right role, I bet Eddie Murphy can be back on top, playing with the greats right now. That's why I would put him that high.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. There's just too many Shreks in there. I mean, there's just
The
way
Shrek
too many
effect?
Shreks
All
that he's
right.
done.
Fair enough.
It's
All right.
the Shrek effect that really just drags him down. I wouldn't even. I mean, I would label him character actor.
Wow. So you're not even thinking he's playing at the top of his game? He's not even
No,
in
he
the
hasn't
800s?
been on the top of his game in 30 years.
Okay. All right. I get you. All right. So those are the FPJs. That is the Freddie Prinze Jr. scale of actor charisma. Let us know your
We should-
thoughts.
Yes.
Email us, tweet at us, post on our Facebook, facebook.com/FPJ Dorking Out show. Sonia, you were going to say something?
I was going to say, do we want to talk about that we are going to start work on our actress charisma scale?
Yes, we are. And what's funny is we were talking about, all right, well, who's the female equivalent of this? You know, because I think like, you know, with actors, there is a certain level, I wouldn't say of how your looks play into it, but they're not like, it's not a scale of who's the hottest and who's the not hottest.
Right.
But looks do play into it to a certain extent. But we were thinking, and I'm almost wondering if, like, you know, like in the 80s, the movie Predator came out, and you got like two governors out of it. It's like this weird movie that has connects to everything that happens in the next 30 years after it. It's who the hell would have known the Predator would have been in this weirdly important movie? But She's All That with Freddie Prinze Jr. in the late 1990s might have the female Freddie Prinze Jr., which is the Rachel Lee Cook, the RLC.
Yes.
She had her
so
moment.
We'll have the FPJs and the RLCs.
Unless there's another appropriate actress that slides in there.
I don't think so. I think this is perfect.
Because Rachel Lee Cook, she's cute, she's attractive, but not like, oh my God, spectacular. And also not, see, that's the thing, is not only like Freddie Prinze Jr. is very generic in his attractiveness and in his looks. It's just there's no characteristics in there.
So Rachel,
we're not going to make fun of Freddie Prinze Jr.
We're not
at all.
Cook is the perfect one. I would also put maybe someone like Kate Bosworth on this list.
Kate Bosworth, the Bosworths. Hold on.
That's not a bad one. Not a bad one.
That might be a good one.
She's one that like Hollywood was trying to make happen, and
yeah, that is a good. Yeah,
but I do like the Rachel Lee Cooks with the kind of the She's All That is like the apex of fun.
Yeah, well,
of stand-in actors.
Yes.
See, that's the thing. When you look on Google, you know, her big movies: 2002, Blue Crush; 2006, Superman Returns; Straw Dog, she was in, and then it's just kind of like, what are her other big movies? She had her moment. And there's nothing. So you know what? Yeah, the Bosworth. Yeah, 21.
Well, maybe some people would like to weigh in and think who they think we should name.
That's right. Yeah.
The next scale on. I think I still lean towards Rachel Lee Cook.
That's right, Rachel Lee Cook. Although I'm loving the Bosworths because it. But we could be wrong. There's probably somebody out there that's perfect that we're not thinking of, that would be, you know, that's the thing. Don't think of the worst actress you can think of or somebody that puts you off. Somebody that does have some chops, that can deliver a line without embarrassing themselves, but just that's it. They're like the theoretical bare minimum it takes to become an actor.
What do you think, Peter?
Well, I do like the Rachel Lee Cooks just because it does kind of have she's a three letters, so it goes well with the FPJs and the RLCs.
Yeah.
So that's good. But Bosworth's not bad. I was actually kind of thinking maybe Sarah Michelle Gellar too, but you know she had some good things in the past, like Buffy and some other things.
I think Buffy puts her like
but that's it. That's the only thing that kind of puts her up is Buffy.
No, didn't she had another show that she was on? She's had a couple big TV shows.
She was in Scooby-Doo with FPJ.
That's right. She was in Scooby-Doo.
She was in like Cruel Intentions and all these movies really weren't that great.
That's right.
And they could have just kind of been anybody in them.
I don't think she qualifies because I think she brings people in.
Yeah.
I think that.
Yeah.
From the legacy of Buffy.
There is a magnetism there, I think.
Yeah.
But the only reason being is Buffy. That's really the only reason.
She was in. She was.
If you take out Buffy, there's like nothing there.
Actually, I forgot one thing that I meant to discuss in this segment.
I would
Which-
disagree because I really liked her on All My Children.
Which
That's
was-
where which is
all
where
right.
I saw her first.
All right. Well, I would like
Just backing up my case.
I would like to side with you, Sonia, but I cannot side with that evidence. However, my wife, my dear sweet wife, Laura, reminded me of Ryan Felipe.
Oh yeah.
We should almost have called this list the Felipes.
I still like the FPJ.
I like the FPJs too, but Ryan
I gotta
Felipe,
say, like, he's really close though. Like,
that's right.
Like if Freddie Prinze Jr. is 1, like
He's
Ryan
like a 2.
Felipe is 2.
Yeah, he's like a 2.
I would say Ryan Felipe is a 1.1. I would say he is nearly. What you could do is you could put Ryan Felipe on one side, Freddie Prinze Jr. on the other side. You could put a board across them, and then you could stack books on it. They're so close together that it's essentially level.
Well, that's what I think about Rachel Lee Cook and Kate Bosworth. I think you could do Rachel Lee Cook as the 1, and 1.1 would be Kate Bosworth.
Oh, that'd be a hell of a bookshelf.
Topic 2. We're going to talk about Sausage Party.
Yeah, we are.
Also known around my house as The Secret Lives of Food. Let me give you a little summary in case you don't know what it is. It's basically a spoof of Pixar movies like Toy Story, in which inanimate objects have lives that we don't see. So the food in our grocery store, they're alive. And they have thoughts and feelings, and most of those feelings involve wanting to have sex.
That's
but
right.
They still have hopes and dreams. They believe that humans are gods who will pick them off the shelves and take them to the great beyond, where they will be happy and free. But then a jar of honey mustard is returned to the store, and the truth comes out that humans are awful monsters who torture and eat them. This is written by Seth Rogen and his crew. And
Yep.
Seth Rogen is the voice of a hot dog who's trying to uncover the truth. And Kristen Wiig is his bun girlfriend.
Get it?
Get it?
Get it? He's the hot dog and she's the bun and he goes in her. Get it?
Get it? And there's a lot of people in it. Selma Hayek plays Taco because, of course, she does. Edward Norton's doing his best Woody Allen impression as a bagel.
And it's a fantastic Woody Allen impression.
It is a really good Woody Allen impression. David Krumholtz, am I pronouncing that right?
I
Plays
think so.
plays a flatbread who can't wait for his 77 virgin olive oils in the afterlife. Bill Hader is doing, of course, you can't have an animated movie without Bill Hader. Bill Hader's voicing a Native American character, a bottle of firewater, and a drunken bottle of Mexican tequila. And then, this is a good one, Nick Kroll as a douche, which I think is hilarious because this is the second time Nick Kroll has played a character named the douche. I actually thought this movie was pretty funny. I don't know if this is a movie I would have seen if we weren't going to talk about it on the show, but I thought there's a lot of raunchy, lowbrow humor mixed with some higher goals. It has some interesting things to say about religion and about being an atheist. You know, what are the pros and cons of faith? Does faith help us lead happier lives or does it hold us back?
Yeah.
You know, and I think those are pretty lofty goals for a movie that's basically a bunch of wiener jokes.
And it is a bunch of wiener jokes.
A bunch of wiener jokes. I did laugh. I did think it was entertaining and funny. It reminded me a lot of South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which also, you know, had a lot of like crude, gross humor, you know, potty humor, if you will.
Yeah.
But had something more serious to say about like language and raising your children and violence. And I thought South Park was very, very, very funny. I think it's way funnier than this movie, but this movie was funny.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is South
So-
Park is a comedy for the ages.
Right.
South Park might be, pound for pound, the funniest thing that's been happening in culture in the last 20 years.
Yeah, and the movie is.
Yeah.
I remember seeing South Park in the theater.
Yeah.
I think I went to a press screening, and the minute it was over, I was like, I want to see it again. Like, I could wait to see it again. I don't have this feeling with this one, but I did think it was funny. What did you think?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was really good. I thought it was one of the things I liked about it is, let me step back. This movie may or may not be getting a lot of heat because it's getting some heat from some people. I guess the professionally offended.
Yes, the outrage machine.
The outrage machine. So I can't tell if people are really up in arms because I haven't been paying attention to the scrum online too much. If they're really up in arms or if this movie does have a problem. Because if this movie came out 20 years ago, nobody would have batted an eye.
Right.
For all, the racial... See, that's even the thing is, well, the racial jokes, but that's the thing is they're not really racial jokes. They're not jokes at anyone's expense. It's not like we say, oh, there's the Jewish character, and then they make a bunch of Jewish jokes.
Right.
Or there's the Polish character, so they make a bunch of Polak jokes or something. It's not like that. It's just, one of the things is there's the ethnic food aisle and the kind of the Palestinian stand-in character and the Jewish stand-in character. They're fighting a lot and they're talking about not having enough space on the shelves and you're coming in and having all your settlements over and it's really funny, but none of the jokes are kind of degrading anybody. It's just, this is a representation of a Native American. This is a representation, of a bagel.
Right.
Guess which ethnicity they were representing there. So it's not even like they're racist jokes or racially charged jokes. It's just there as kind of a component of the diverse humor and the diverse world that we live in. This supermarket's supposed to be, kind of represent the world and all this.
Right. Like there's also a black character that is he's a box of grits.
That's right.
And he really hates crackers.
That's right.
Those crackety ass crackers.
Which is, that's the thing that is so much fun about it. And I think a lot of the best comedies are like this, where they work on this 7-year-old kind of pee your pants, you're laughing so funny level. But then they also work at the erudite professor trying to be funny level. Like, this is like many levels of humor in this movie. Most of which are kind of raunchy jokes, but a lot of them are pretty thought-provoking, pretty fun, and pretty interesting. The idea of why do we believe what we believe? Why do we have faith? Why do we, and I think for a lot of it is, in Hollywood, kind of atheism's kind of been bubbling up in the popular culture more in the last 15 years. But this is not, I would say this is not only a critique of religion, but this is also a critique of atheism. It's like, what do you, when you leave your faith or when you try to talk people out of their faith that gives them comfort, that gives them hope in a hard world, what are you really doing? You can do that, but you're kind of leaving them hopeless in some ways, sometimes. So if you are not compassionate about the way that you talk about someone's religion when you don't necessarily buy into it, you can be kind of mean, because that is one of the things that's interesting about this movie is the underlying theme is we're alive for a brief, nice period, and then we get taken out of the supermarket and mauled to death.
Right.
It paints the world in this very dark level, and given that that's the metaphor for the world that it's setting up, how do you kind of go through that? Which is, there's a lot of, I just thought it was, I thought it was really funny. I thought it was, it was just really funny. It was really sharp. It's not one of the great all times in comedies, and I think in today's climate, it's kind of getting more credit than it deserves. This is not some great comedy. It's just really fun, pretty clever in some parts, pretty fun.
I think it's getting a little bit more praise than it deserves because it's actually taking a chance.
Yeah.
Where so many movies just play it safe.
Yes.
And wouldn't go there, and this movie goes there.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes there. Yeah.
And a lot of movies just don't. They don't anymore, and they're, we get to watch something it's just different than everything else we've got to see this summer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that is one of the things that I really liked about it, the character of Firewater, Bill Hader's Native American character, that character, I could see a lot of people looking at that and going, oh, they're just, making fun of Native Americans. But really, they're making fun of the characters that that Hollywood has put forward as Native Americans.
Yes.
Usually they're the wise soothsayer and they talk in these parables and they're telling the white man the secrets of the universe. And this is, there's a little bit of that there, but then pretty soon it starts getting really weird and really whacked out and really funny. So yeah. And it has some things to say about race, some things to say about religion, some things to say about a lot of the strife in the world. But a lot of it is just,
wiener jokes
being put in buns.
Right.
And
I would like to talk about the ending. So can we do some spoilers?
All right. Now we are going to spoil the ending, and we are going to play the special spoiler chime. So when you hear the sound of the spoiler chime, go see the movie or read the book or whatever that we're talking about, and then come back to listen to the spoilers. All right. Spoil away.
Okay, so I want to say, I do think part of the end. So I have problems with the ending, but only part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the part where, basically, without religion holding them back, it just means it's time for a food orgy. Without oh, there is no God, let's do it, yeah. And it goes there, and it's really graphic, and. I convinced a friend to see this with me. She, for some reason, thought I wanted to see Neighbors 2 and that we were going to the theater to see Neighbors 2. And I was like, no, we're going to see the movie about talking food.
We're going to see the other Seth Rogen comedy of the summer.
Yeah. Yes. And she was like, okay. And then, then there's a bunch of food doing it. I'm like, aren't you glad you came with me?
That's right.
She's such a good sport. But so the movie had a natural conclusion, but instead it goes on 5 minutes too long. And I felt like the ending kind of undercuts the entire movie.
What's the ending? I think it does go on a little bit longer, and it does kind of set up a quote unquote avenue for a sequel that I thought was unnecessary, but I don't think it kind of wrecked the movie. What's the thing that you think wrecked the movie? I wouldn't say it wrecks
the movie. I don't want to say it wrecks the whole movie for me. I'm just saying, I feel like it had an ending where, Frank, the hot dog, and Brenda the bun are sitting together, and it kind of, pans out, and you see the grocery store or whatever, and then it, turns into this weird, well, none of this really matters because you're a cartoon anyway ending.
Right.
That, I don't know, kind of undoes everything they just did about religion.
Yeah, maybe. I can see
and the world they created.
Yeah, I think, I was reading some stuff today that Seth Rogen has a pretty clear idea of what he wants to do for his sequel.
Right.
So maybe they're setting something up. For me, it didn't really undo it, but it did seem kind of like, well, they did, they set it up where the food is going through this Stargate to go into the quote unquote
because they
real world.
They want to set up a sequel where they're doing kind of like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit style mix of live action and animation.
Yeah, which I guess could be cool. I think it seems like a pretty weird tangent for the universe that they created here.
Right.
But yeah, you know what? It didn't really bother me, but it also didn't really do anything for me. I'm with you. I wish they would have just cut it off at the end of the story.
And I just think
that would have been it.
It's just a reoccurring thing I'm seeing in movies. Like, they just need to start ending them about 5 minutes earlier.
You're definitely right about that.
That's all.
Actually, and with Suicide Squad and its 3 beginnings, they should have started it about 10 minutes later.
Right. I agree.
Not that Suicide Squad has left a mark on our movie-going pleasure this summer.
Right.
So, anyway, cool. On to topic 3. Topic 3. We are doing a lightning round, kind of one of our segments. Why should I listen to you? Also, they're just kind of recommendations of what we're paying attention to. This is the segment where we talk about things that we like in hopes that it lets you know us a little bit better. So then when we tell you this movie's good or this movie's bad or this book sucks or that comic book's awesome, you'll know where we're coming from. On today's episode, I will be talking about my favorite nonfiction book of all time, John Krakauer's legendary book on climbing Mount Everest, Into Thin Air. And Sonia Mansfield will be talking about Netflix's The Get Down, which just came out Friday?
That's right. It just came out on Friday. And
yeah,
go ahead.
Take it away.
Well, I just want to say, like, you're giving a recommendation of like one of your all-time favorite books. I'm just recommending a show that I watched one episode of that I liked.
Well,
so
we did review the night of with having seen just one episode. So take it,
right.
So have at it.
So I want to say I really enjoyed The Get Down, which just started on Netflix on Friday. It focuses on a group of teenagers in the Bronx in the late 70s. It's kind of a coming-of-age story set at the intersection of disco and the birth of hip-hop. And I haven't watched the whole season yet because I just don't have time to binge watch. But I watched the first episode, and I really, really liked it. It's really good. It's produced by Baz Luhrmann, who, you know, did Moulin Rouge and The Great Gatsby and Romeo and Juliet. And he brought in like Nas and Grandmaster Flash and Curtis Blow to produce as well. So in the pilot, it's a 90-minute pilot, and it's directed by Baz Luhrmann. It has a really great like scene where one of the characters introduces some of the other characters to the hip hop scene, like kind of the birth of hip hop. It's with someone playing Grandmaster Flash. And it just feels so real and alive and energetic and fun. It's just so good. And there's a really sweet little love story going on in the episode that I'm sure plays out that, you know, really plays to like Baz Luhrmann's strengths. You know, it's very Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge. And, you know, I read some things comparing the show to Empire and Nashville and Vinyl and Roadies, and those are all shows I don't watch. But I found the show kind of reminded me of David Simon's Treme. Did you ever watch Treme?
You know, I tried to get into Treme, and it just didn't take.
Oh, I just really loved it. I thought it was a really wonderful drama set in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
And it really showed how music can like bring a community together, how it can lift us up, and how it can save the soul of a community. And that's kind of the impression I'm getting from The Get Down. So maybe that's why I'm responding to it, because it's just touching on this little part of me that also really loved Treme. It's funny because Vinyl came out on HBO this year. Did you watch Vinyl at all?
I watched the first episode and a half, and then it was just like, got it.
You watched more than me, because I saw the previews for it, and it just was such a turnoff. It was like, oh, good. It's a show about a, you know, lame white guy who does a bunch of drugs and treats women badly, but there's music. Was that about right?
Yeah, well, I'm never a fan of calling out someone's race when you're about to talk them down. But other than that, you're pretty accurate.
Okay. Well, he just seemed like a really unlikable dude, and I was like, I didn't want to watch another show with like some unlikable jerk as the lead.
I agree, and
I will say
you are correct in that a lot of these anti-heroes, this streak of anti-heroes that started with Tony Soprano and kind of ran through the aughts and 2010s, they're all white guys, so I gotta own that.
Yeah,
but yeah,
the Get Down isn't that. The leads are not jerks. They're very, very likable. It's a lot of younger people. It has a very sweet love story, but it's also it's also a little bigger. It's also about like the birth of hip hop in the community, but also it's got Jimmy Smits in it playing like kind of I don't know like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like he kind of like a trying to push on politics. Like he wants to he's not really into politics, but he kind of, like I can deliver the Hispanic vote, like that sort of thing. So it's showing like these smaller stories, but it's also kind of bigger about like what's happening in New York in the 70s.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
it also has Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad.
Ooh, I might have to give this a shot. Which is funny because everything you've said up until now has kind of ticked all the boxes for things I am not interested in.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's why I was like, this might be a good recommendation for me because I didn't know if it would really be a show that you would really want to watch. This really, it hits a lot of like Sonia things. Like I really like hip hop and rap and funk and things like that. So I'm interested. And then, you throw a love story in it and I'm in.
Yeah, I got it. Well, that's the thing. And I think it's just me. These are all my personal just predilections or whatever. Movies and TV shows about making music, I just never find that interesting.
Yeah.
It's just
they can be, they're just really hit or miss. I get it.
Yeah. Even though I did like Straight Outta Compton.
Which I still haven't seen.
You should definitely see that.
I do want to see it.
I think you would love that.
I'm sure I would. I need to watch it. I just also want to give a shout out to the two of the lead guys. There's I think his name is Shamik Moore and Justice Smith. They're really, really great. Like they are kind of not friends at the beginning of the episode and really good friends at the end of the episode. And it's very believable and really cool, I guess, to see, I don't know, two young men forming like a really cool, like interesting friendship.
Cool.
So that is my recommendation for this.
Hold on.
The Get Down on Netflix.
All right. Cool. Excellent. My recommendation, I just realized as we were putting this segment together, I had the horrifying realization that this book that I love so much is almost 20 years old. This past May was the 20th anniversary of its central event. And to think that a book this sweet, or not sweet, this brand new and vivid for me is already 20 years old, can almost vote, or I can vote, can almost drink, just breaks my heart. And that book is Jonathan Krakauer's nonfiction piece of journalism, nonfiction book, Into Thin Air. So in the 1990s, Jonathan Krakauer was kind of not a very well-known writer. He was working for Outside Magazine. He had just put out the book Into the Wild about Christopher McCandless and his adventures around the United States, then getting lost and eventually dying in Alaska. He had got some, and a lot of people loved that book. Jonathan Krakauer is a fantastic journalist, nonfiction writer. So then pretty much as soon as he does that classic book, his editors say, hey, you know what? There's a lot of people going up on Mount Everest, and there are a lot of kind of civilians that don't know much about mountaineering. They're being kind of ferried to the top by these professional companies of mountaineers that bring people up and down to the highest mountain on Earth. Why don't you go check it out? He goes along with one of these commercial expeditions, and then one of the up until that point, the biggest disaster in Mount Everest history hit. This storm came in at the wrong time, and 6 months after John Krakauer gets back, he basically gets back and starts writing this book. This book is written so well. If I could write half as good as John Krakauer, I would be so happy. You can cut glass with this guy's prose in this book. It's very vivid, very immediate, very visceral, but also he gives the whole history of how, Mount Everest was discovered and what it meant for all the different, the Nepalese that lived there, the Chinese that lived around the mountain, and then when the English came into India and Nepal and did their surveys, how they, discovered it for Europeans, and then how it got the name of Mount Everest, and what it really should have been called, and all this. And it's just, he gives this great, unbelievably efficient kind of quick drawing history, and then it just sets up the drama so good. It's kind of, it's amazing. It would almost be like imagining having the best, this is going to sound awful the way I say it, but having the best writing journalist of the 1960s happen to be in the limo with JFK in Dallas or something. It's like the perfect journalist at the perfect moment in the perfect location at the top of their game, and it's just like, holy cow, this book is heartbreaking, amazing. I must have read this. I probably read this every year, every 2 years, because it is just a spectacular book. It is so tight, so efficient, but just so vivid. It's funny because, I'm trying to write a book now, and I've, read all my life, and I'm probably going to have to give away my author card when I say this. I've tried to read Ernest Hemingway, and I like parts of it. I like some of the stuff that he's done.
Where do you put him on the FPJ scale?
Exactly, that's right. But he just doesn't hit me the way, his prose doesn't hit me the way it hits a lot of other people. But Jonathan Krakauer, his prose just hits me like like a fistful of knives. It's just so perfect that I love it. So, Into Thin Air, if you haven't read it, it's an amazingly exciting book, and it's told so well that, when the exciting events are told in this, really fantastic, very spare, very direct style, it's just unbelievable. So
I haven't read it.
Oh my God. Have you read Into the Wild?
No.
Okay. Pick
Where
up
do I
either
start?
one. I would read Into Thin Air, but
Okay.
they're both really good. They're both very different books. They're my favorite kind of journalism, deeply researched, deeply thought out, deeply felt, but not flashy. Not like I am the author and I'm going to make a show of how goddamn talented I am.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's just...
Well, someday I'll finish Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and then I'll read that.
That's right. Actually, how far into the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child have you gotten?
I'm almost finished. I am like this close. I am very almost close. Almost.
All right. Cool. All right. And on that note, I'm going to pull an audible, and we're going to add a segment to the show. Sonia Mansfield, you are nearly finished with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. What is your impression so far?
We've already talked about it.
We have talked about it, but when we talked about it, you had read like Act 1.
Yeah.
Now you're almost done.
I am almost finished.
This is going to be a spoiler-filled section, by the way, so go read the book and now come back. All right, Sonia Mansfield. spoil away on Harry
Well,
Potter and
I'm
the Cursed Child.
I'm not all the way finished yet, but the big reveal wasn't very shocking to me.
Which was what?
That Delphi is, evil.
Right.
Is that how you pronounce her name?
I'm not sure.
I always mispronounce everyone's name.
Actually, that's the theme of tonight's show. Everybody's name gets their name mispronounced.
That's right.
Yeah, so Voldemort's kid, it is kind of Harry Potter babies.
It is Harry
little
Potter
bit.
babies. It is. I'm still enjoying the book. I like being in the world. I like you. Maybe I would have liked it if it wasn't Voldemort related.
Yeah. So
that's okay.
So you've already done the thing where
I really like Scorpius.
Yeah. I like it too. And I really liked Harry and Draco kind of becoming friends.
Yeah.
So have they gone back to it's essentially the Goblet of Fire era? And
they've already gone through all of that. Now I'm at the part where Harry and Ron and Draco have shown up at when Harry was a baby.
Right, at Godric's Hollow. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that where it is? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Gosh,
that's where I am right now.
Now that we're talking,
like they just showed up.
Yes. You really are almost done then.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about this, it's like, yeah, they do. It really is just a Back to the Future version of the Harry Potter series.
Oh my God, it is.
Because I know that we kind of talked about this. It's Back to the Future 2. And from what I understand.
So is Voldemort Biff?
Pretty much, yeah. That's right. Because why
don't you make like a tree?
That's right.
Get out of here.
No, here's the thing. Because we pick up the story 15 years after the events, or 19 years after the events, or whatever. Right. And so it's not Voldemort isn't. Yeah. So Voldemort's kid, I guess, is Griff from the 80s Cafe in Back to the Future 2.
Right.
To run this metaphor into the ground. So I guess you know what it is. Now what we're getting is Back to the Future 3 with Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, because that happens 100 years before.
There you go.
Wow.
That's all it is.
Little did we know that
it's just a Back to the Future reboot. A reimagining.
Oh, wow.
See, there are no original stories.
I guess there aren't. J.K. Rowling, turns out, was ripping off Doc Brown the whole time. That brings us to our headlines of the week, our favorite headlines of the week. And this week, Sonia's got a doozy.
So my favorite headline of the week is Donald Glover is rumored to be, he's being considered to play Lando in the new Han Solo movie. I think this might be genius casting.
It's funny because as soon as I heard this, his face popped into my head. I was thinking, okay, black guy, about that age, kind of looks like that, kind of smooth, has that cool vibe. And it's just, Donald Glover is just sitting right there, staring at Hollywood in the face for exactly this role.
I think he would be perfect for it. I think Donald Glover can be really smooth and charming. And I think Lando is kind of funny. So yeah, I think Donald Glover is a really good fit. I can't think of anyone else I think would be better than Donald Glover. I'm into it.
What about the guy that plays Falcon in the Marvel movies? Anthony, I don't want to say, it's not Anthony Mackie. Is it Anthony Mackie?
I think it is.
Oh my God. Don't get old, kids. You start forgetting that you know someone's name. Not that you even forget their name.
He might be fine too.
He might be fine, but Donald Glover is perfect.
Yeah, I'm excited about that choice. It's just a rumor, but apparently he is the first choice, and I think that's awesome.
I think that would be great. Now, for those of you playing at home, First off, there is no dorking out game. You're not playing anything. It's in your head. Secondly, if you don't know who Donald Glover is, he played Troy in the late great NBC series Community with Joel McHale, and his relationship with Danny Pudi on that show, who played Abed, was one of my favorite friendships in all of pop culture.
Oh God, it is so funny. Also, you could maybe Google Donald Glover crying
Yeah.
on Community, and people have supercut like every time Troy cries on Community. It's really funny.
It is. That show is so freaking sweet. Now, here's my ultimate fantasy now. Is there any way Abed, Danny Pudi, can get into that Star Wars movie? Is there any way to have Lando
You just want them playing the same characters. You just want Troy and Abed.
Not exactly, but man, it would be sweet to see them on screen. To see Lando and like Lando's cool friend.
Lando's cool friend.
Meet up with Han Solo. Oh, it would be so sweet. Oh, I'm telling you. Anyway.
You are too funny. What is your headline?
This is apropos of nothing. My headline consolidates a huge amount of what I think about pop culture into one sweet headline. So, Nick Palazzetto, is that how you say his name?
It sounds right.
Let's
say yes.
Yeah, the guy who created and wrote most of seasons 1 and 2 of HBO's True Detective, season 1 of which was one of the greatest television experiences of all time, season 2 of which was nigh unwatchable, completely miserable. It took every cliche of modern prestige television that annoys people and just pummeled the audience for 8
I didn't even watch it.
Excruciating episodes. It was awful. Anyway, so this might be genius or this might be awful, but for a while he has not been. It's been very apparent he's not working on True Detective season 3. He's working on something else with HBO. Word comes out today that he's working with Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Downey Jr. is going to star in a HBO series. And the rumor
is it a mini series?
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it's.
Okay.
I believe it's a mini
like True Detective, so like 8 or 10 episodes.
Exactly, but it could be like HBO's The Night Of, where they could just do another one if they wanted to. It's a series, but anyway. And now that I think about it, this could be very similar to Night Of, because the rumor is Robert Downey Jr. has been trying to reboot and star in a big screen version of Perry Mason for years, apparently. And the word is they're going to do a mini series of Perry Mason on HBO with Robert Downey Jr. playing the legendary defense attorney. And that just seems so perfect.
I love courtroom stuff. I will totally watch this.
Exactly. That's the thing. And this is the kind of thing that seems just perfect for a remake and perfect for this kind of thing. Because there used to be, in culture, two or three tiers of culture. There was high culture, where it was like literature and like the best authors and the best sculptors and the best painters.
Boring.
Exactly. They did their thing and they wrote the big, quote unquote, important books. Then there was like the Stephen Kings and the what was called middlebrow culture, which was all the culture that everybody liked.
Right.
And for the past 20 years, it's been the story, or 30 years, it's been the story of those two things kind of melding into each other. And now you hear a lot of high-end actors and directors now kind of complaining that, oh, we're doing comic book movies now and stuff. But what's happening is, this circles back to The Godfather, of course, like all good things, which is what he wanted to do is on one level, just tell a straight gangster story, a fun, engaging Hollywood gangster story, and on another level talk about how you corrupt yourself, what it is to be a person in America and trying to make it, and the compromises we make as we try to attain the things in life that we want. And it's these two things. So you take high culture and low culture and wrap them together And when they're both firing on all cylinders, it is the best, most satisfying cultural experience because you kind of have the goodness of the high culture and the sweet, fun, fat of the, middle brow culture or whatever. It's just great. How this translates into this is, Nick Piazzolo, or I'm saying that horribly, and I'm sorry. He did True Detective. That's just a fantastic series. That first series is just one of the best things out there. And to think about that mind taking on something, like what is Perry Mason? He's a defense attorney. That's it. You have your client come in.
I have to say, I never watched the show.
I mean, it's good. I mean, that's the thing because every
I know
law show.
I know who he is. I know what it is, but I never watched it.
Well, yeah, I think I've watched a couple of episodes, maybe. But the thing about it is, it's every law show on television now is a descendant of that show. It's the defense attorney. They have a client. The client might have done this thing, might not have done this thing, and you can examine the court system, law. I was going to say law stuff. The court system, different stratas of being alive in America now, how certain people get off and certain people don't, lawyer stuff.
The law guys and the law girls.
Well, you're the law guy, judge. That's a vague Simpsons reference for you.
I get it.
Playing at home. Again, it's not a game. But I am just really excited for this. I'm really excited for that caliber of talent to be taking the bones of an old middle-brow show and doing something great with it. I'm just very excited. So, yes, Robert Downey Jr., rumored as Perry Mason, is my favorite headline of the week.
I love that the invisible line that separated TV stars and movie stars is disappearing, and that people like Robert Downey Jr. or Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson are willing to do TV.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, willing to do TV, and that's the thing.
Because it used to be oh, he's doing TV.
Exactly.
Even as remember when Robert Downey Jr. did Ally McBeal?
I think so.
And I remember thinking, what's he doing on Ally McBeal? That was 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's how far we've come. I don't think of it that way anymore.
Yeah, I don't really think of it that way. Well, that's the thing is I'm really beginning to think that in a lot of ways, and Matthew McConaughey in the first season of True Detective is a perfect example of this, to do some really spectacular stuff in acting, that kind of the top level of acting takes being in a miniseries rather than being in a flashy movie role. You're with the character for longer. You get to think about it more. You get to do more things with that character in a miniseries than you do in a 2-hour movie. So for me, both from a storytelling point of view and from an acting point of view, the limited series on HBO or Netflix or whatever, that's where it's at these days.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what we talked a lot about that last week.
We did, because we're ahead of the curve.
So you guys should listen to last week's show if you haven't, because we talked about that.
That's right. So at the end of this week's show, we would like to say, please go to iTunes, give us a rating, write us a glowing review. If you don't want to write us a glowing review, don't break your neck. You got other important things you got to do. Take your time, get your stuff done, and then when you want to run down our show on iTunes, you know what, get around to it, but, no one's holding a gun to your head. Feel free to relax and take your time. So, with all of that being said, Sonia Mansfield, do you have anything that you would like to say to our listeners at home?
I'll just say goodbye.
Bye!
The Dorking Out Show is on Twitter at Dorking Out Show, where you can find Chris at Jet Jurgens and Sonia at The Sonia Show. You can read about Sonia's random adventures at thesoniashow.com and track the slow and creeping progress of Chris's novel and his other hijinks at jetjurgens.com. You can find out more about the Dorking Out Show at dorkingoutshow.com. While you're over there, you can support us by giving us a review on iTunes. We have a handy-dandy iTunes link to whisk you right back to 2007, where you can leave your review and 5-star rating in iTunes. We'd do it for your podcast. Want to dork out even more? Well, you can sign up for our newsletter, where you'll get all the headlines we use as fuel for the show. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening.